What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the big thing. We're live. Look at this. We're live. Thanks for everybody who's joining me here today live. And if you're joining me on Spotify or Apple or on the replay later, thank you as well. So glad that you are joining us today on the show. So how we're going to do it today, obviously, we're going to cover a lot of these topics. And the big one, as you saw, was the Marvels. Now, Captain Marvel made $1 billion. $1 billion. Now, we already know we talked Aquaman made $1 billion. And people are doubting that the second one could make $1 billion because of all the problems that it's had, the lack of interest as much in the superhero genre. And then Marvel has seen it as well. They haven't had $1 billion one in quite a while. And you look at even a movie that was successful like Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3 and even Doctor Strange didn't hit $1 billion. Well, now there's new reports that the Marvels not tracking well. Tracking underneath Quantumania. Now, that doesn't always mean that that's exactly what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it today. Does it mean that Marvel's in trouble? Does it mean that the Marvels can't bounce back, or will it bounce back? And will it be one of these ones like, tracking up your kazoo? Who cares? One of those. Is that going to happen? And will they actually wind up turning a profit? Talking about things I thought was going to happen, but didn't happen. I just got back from New York. We'll talk about that also. But I just got back from New York. And I was convinced that when I get back to New York, I'm going to be making phone calls to Roxy and to Steph and to everybody. We're going to be running it the same way we did because the SAG strike is going to be over. Well, not the case. SAG said, nope. Don't like those deal points. So back to the table. I don't even know if they're going to get back to the table. There was a particular thing that happened in Ahsoka that we're going to cover here. I'll give people a chance to bail if they haven't seen the finale of Ahsoka because there's something that happened and there's clarification on why that happened. Speaking of clarification and speaking of New York, Matthew Vaughn was talking at a New York Comic-Con panel, was talking about some of the things about our Kick-Ass reboot, and he's talking about a new Kingsman. He's talking about what his X-Men, Last Stand, what that would have looked like. So all that and more on today's episode on The Big Thing, and we're doing it live. And like I said, if you have questions, you have things you want to ask me, I'm going to go through all the topics like I do on a normal Big Thing. I'm doing an experiment here today. So if you got some questions, you want to throw the super chats in there, do it. And at the very end of the show, I'm going to go through all of them. So that's what we got. This is the big thing. This is the show. This is what we're doing. Happy weekend. Happy weekend. Absolutely. Here, let's do it. It's Big Thing. Cool. Big thing, and I'm excited to be back. And to do this with you guys here today on the live stream. Get into the questions, go ahead and get into the topics. As I said, I thought SAG was going to be Dunsky, the strike. Not the case. I had a good time in New York. I had a good time. I wasn't even going to tell anybody this. Especially not. And I know that my wife got mad at me if I do, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We were in New York because we're about 95% sure. I think I'm going to move back home. I think I'm moving back to New York. Not I think. It's like 95%. That's why we were there, to look at some stuff and do some things. So for the New York piece, I'm going to be coming home. I've been doing more stuff in New York. And it's kind of one of the things we're building to truly do some stuff and build a big, and nothing's changing. We're still gonna do all the shows and we'll do everything too. And I got a lot of exciting things to talk about. So pretty pumped about it. I wasn't gonna even bring that up today, but figure why not? I'm excited about it. We're gonna do some cool things. I already talked to like Matt Serra, doing some things with him. And how's it gonna affect these shows? We're still gonna do them. Riley and I just did a UAP show the other day, and it did really, really well. And I'm gonna buy Koya camera. Good camera and a good microphone. So I think if people want to know why, I'm kind of over LA, to be honest with you. It's got home last night, guys. Sunday night we get home. Sunday night. 6:30, 7 o'clock, bumper to bumper traffic. I know, well, New York, you're not going to beat traffic. We had traffic in New York also, but what I'm saying is 7 o'clock traffic everywhere I went. It's just think I'm over it. But yeah, no. So, and it's not going to be for a while. It's not going to be for quite a while. So yes, you will get Roxy and Brett. You should get everybody. Still going to do the same thing. I'm still going to do, and as far as Katie Sackhoff show, still going to be doing Katie's show. I'm going to be flying in once a month to LA. I'm ready to talk to her about all this. She lives in Oregon anyway. So all that stuff will be happening. All of it. We're going to be doing all the shows. I'll be flying in for stuff, and we have we got a lot of good plans. So I'm pretty excited. Yeah. So everything, nothing will change as far. You're still going to get Winston and Coy and Mike and everybody too. We'll be doing the shows, and the shows aren't going away, and we'll be doing more stuff. And again, we're talking about a year from now. It's not like tomorrow, but I just, for bringing it up to, and I'll be doing more New York stuff, doing shows and live shows and all that and more. So, anyway, so that was one of the things, and I was there, and the other thing that I am going to be doing, this is kind of, I guess, a transition into another thing we're going to be doing on the channel that I'm pretty excited about, is that I went to, when I was in New York, obviously you guys have heard, if you've been following me long enough, you know how much of a pizza fan I am. It's my favorite food. I've been talking about pizza forever. And Collider Live, we used to talk about it all the time, and SEN, Schmoes, all that stuff. So I went to a couple places when I was back, and Frank Janish and I have been talking about it. And Frank's a big pizza guy, also Chicago guy, and we always playfully tease each other about Chicago pizza versus New York pizza. And so we're going to do a new segment on the channel. And we're shooting our first one on Thursday, actually. And it's just going to be called The New York Guy and a Pizza Guy Try. The first one we're going to do is we're going to try Joe's Pizza. We're going to try Mulberry Pizza in Beverly Hills. And we're going to do a bunch of those different little pizza things. And and then if people like it enough and it catches on, then we'll start doing other places, whether it's New York, Chicago, those other things too. But we're going to just kind of have an experiment. Yeah. And again, so I see this, by the way, and I'll address it. Just when the studio gets set up, we'll miss Roxy, Brett, and Mark Riley. What will happen with Katie Sackhoff show? So I just you might have tuned in afterwards or went to take a dump when I brought it up, or it might have been on a delay. So I'll say a delay. So just when the studio got set up, Brett's going to come and he's going to set up the studio for me. It probably look just like this. So that's part one. Part two is we're going to get them all good cameras, good setup, and you'll still have them once a week. Katie Sackhoff show, same thing. I'll be flying in. We pre-tape. We already have like 20 episodes in the can, by the way, for when the strike's over. So that won't change. Nothing will really change except, when it comes to the studio, and I'm going to have some New York people that I'm going to bring into the studio as well, too. So there'll be in-person studio shows. There'll be the same cast of characters. No, it really won't change. So there you go. But we're going to be doing a few different places for the pizza thing. And then we'll be, I'm excited about it. Hopefully people will enjoy it. And that'll probably carry on Patreon. If you didn't know, we've made and for all the new patrons, by the way, if you didn't know this already, Winston A. Marshall has agreed that at 1,000 patrons, he's going to go to Halloween Horror Nights. Now, if we hit that, right now we're at almost 400. So if we hit that by this month, he'll go this year. If not, go next year. But either way, get to 1,000. Brett and I at 1,200 are going to go. I think it's 1,200. We're going to go to the Corey Feldman concert, and we'll be front row. All these new details are on the new Patreon tiers. The best one though, and it's going to take a while, probably be a couple of years, but at 10,000 patrons, Brett is not a fan of heights, and Brett's going to go full on Zaflirt and Flouse in character, and Jen Sturger is going to go with him. We're going to do a full video of her as Jessica in character, and he's going to skydive. So that'll be at 10,000. And then for me, I have had the same hairstyle, hair color for God knows how long. I'm going to do the full-on Ken with the tan, the bleach blonde hair at 5,000 for an undisclosed amount of time. So there's a couple of different silly things. You want to go to patreon.com/the big thing show, and you'll see all these things. PLD, by the way, if you know PLD, he's going to shave his mustache at 5,000 as well too. No one's ever seen. I didn't even mention that yet. He's going to shave his mustache right off. So that'll be fun. Anyway, so yeah, I see some super chats coming in. Throw them in there, and I'll get to all of them by the end of the show. Just wanted to give everybody updates up top. Apple Podcast, Spotify. So yeah, we're excited, man. We're almost at 100,000. If you haven't already done it, 100,000. We're 100,000 subscribers. We're almost there already. We're on that road, man. Look at that, 100,000. We're almost there. So I'm excited, and I'm so we're growing. And people are also going to be asking about out of the theater reactions, all that stuff. All that stuff's going to nothing's changing. Just location. We're me and better pizza and a better school system for my kids. It's really all it is. Really all it is. So anything, yeah, it's going to be, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting, change, and I get to go home. So I haven't been home in a long time. Or lived home a long time. So let's get into some of this news, man, because there's news, and we're going to start with the title, The Marvels. It's targeting a quiet opening. This is from Garth Franklin over at Dark Horizons. The earliest box office projections for Marvel Studios and Disney's The Marvels movie are ahead of the film's release next month, and the outlook, not good. Box Office Pro reports that the film is on track for an expected domestic opening of 50 to 75 million, much lower than Captain Marvel's 153.4 million. In fact, that figure is considerably behind the openings of both Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which did 104 million, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 118 million. The site also indicates the earliest pre-sales for the film are significantly behind, and they're low, 69% behind Guardians, 72% behind Quantumania, and 42% behind Eternals at the same point in their cycles. The MCU has struggled to maintain the momentum of its first three phases in the years since Avengers Endgame, even as their films are still often very high at the end of the year charts. That said, the Marvels faces some tough issues. The inability of the film's trio of stars to promote it is expected to have an impact, while demand for Taylor Swift's Eras concert tour is also hurting the pre-sales. As such, the film is still weeks off and has time to make up some of the ground. A lot of that I agree with. Not much of that I don't agree with. The first part of it for me is this SAG, the second they couldn't figure it out, they're like, oh no, because that's crucial. For them to be able to promote this movie is absolutely crucial. They need to promote this movie. They need to. The 3 stars need to promote this movie, and it's going to hurt tremendously. And this strike, and we'll talk about it in a second, but this strike ain't ending. I don't think anymore. I was convinced it was going to be over already now. I thought I would be talking to you as if it was over, but it ain't ending until 2024, guys. And I hope I come back and go, well, I was wrong about that too. It just it doesn't look good. And I'll be honest, with all the stuff happening in the world right now, everything that the strike is that they're fighting for, they should be fighting for, but it just seems a little bit insignificant with other things going on in the world, if you know what I mean. Very important still for people's well-being and things that they should be fighting for, but it just doesn't seem to me like it's going to be something that, I don't know. It just got off the plane seeing news articles about things going on in the world, and I'm going, there's just the world's in a crazy place. It's in a crazy place right now. Anyway, so the Marvels in general, jumping back to the movie side of things, I was thinking about too, tell you guys this too, as I see more super chats coming in. Just a reminder, I will get to them at the end of the show. One of the things that I think that I see when it comes to movies, and I don't know why this happened, pop culture, movies, everything too, I think the movies should be handled in, when we're talking about them, in the same vein that we kind of talk about sports, in the same way people can talk about sports, argue about sports, and then okay, and I'm not going to say there's not times when people are fighting in the stands and doing that thing too, but I mean, the way that it's brought up on media, the way that it's brought up in general with sports fans and sport and the conversations, as opposed to why it now seems very similar to politics. It's so weird how movies and pop culture have now turned into this, and people will say a lot of different things, and whether it's, well, hate mongers have made it political, and other people will say, well, the studios have made it political, and this, it's like, yeah, but we have the responsibility and the ability to say, okay, well, I don't like that choice that they made in casting that particular person. So I think instead of making a big video about it or anything too about why I hate this and why you're a shill for doing this or why you're, I think instead I'm just not going to see it, or I'll say, I'm glad you like it. That looks like crap to me, and no thanks. But instead we do it. It's like, and politics. I mean, holy crap! It's Red Sox versus Yankees right now. It's like you can't, if you're on one side of the thing and you have an opinion and you happen to agree with another opinion on the wrong team, then you're the bad guy too. What happened to the place where, whether it's movies and politics, where I don't necessarily line up with that person's politics, but that point was valid. Yeah, you what? You support that person? You're on the other team now. And it's like the same thing in movies. When did that happen? It's like, and don't say it always did, because it didn't. I remember back in the day when there were things going on and in general in the world, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily line up with that guy's politics, but that was a good point. And you didn't like get canceled for saying that, or vice versa. And the same thing with movies, man. The movies is weird. It's like you can't watch a movie and you can't like it. And if you do like it, you can't say later on you didn't like it, because then you changed your opinion. Oh my God, you can't change your opinion. Like, I don't understand what this, like, why can't this be movies? And the same thing, look, let's use the Marvels for an example, right? Captain Marvel's fine, whatever. I watched it again recently with my daughter. I'm like, it's not great. I don't know how it made $1 billion. I mean, well, I should say I know how it made $1 billion, because it was the in between Infinity War and Endgame. So it made sense. And it was also in the golden era. And I don't think the second one's going to do good. I am looking forward to seeing what Ms. Marvel is going to do, because I thought she was so charming, brilliant, and I think she's a star. But I'm not necessarily excited for the movie. And I've said that, and people go, of course not, dude, bro. Why would you like it? And it's like, well, I actually like a lot of those different movies, and some of them I don't. And I hope that, speaking of Ms. Marvel, I thought that was going to be totally geared just towards my daughter. And even when I said that on the trailer, I said, I don't know, I'm going to watch this because I think my daughter might like it, but I don't know if it's aimed towards me. And I think someone called me either a racist or a misogynist or whatever it was for doing that. And then I wound up watching it, and I was like, whoa, the family dynamic alone was fantastic. Loved the family dynamic behind it. Thought it was great. The superhero stuff, less interesting. Very similar to Blue Beetle. Thought Sholo was absolutely phenomenal. Thought the family dynamic was heartwarming, great. Superhero stuff, right? But I don't know. It's just like the same thing when it comes to the Marvels, is that I hope that it is charming. I hope all three of them really work together, and I hope I leave going, they made me laugh. That's why I went for the three of them, and the superhero stuff was fine. But I'm not just like, I'm not like going, oh my gosh, I need to see this movie. Now, we talked about it on Capes and Cows. I think that there's something about I think that there's something that if they're going after the Barbie audience, which is not I understand the logic behind it and the strategy behind it. I think where you miss, though, is that you still, with you might be leaving out a lot of the core audience, and maybe you're not just going, maybe you're trying to expand past that. I don't know if it's the right strategy, but I understand the strategy, if that makes sense. I just think that is also one of the reasons why, and this also has a lot to do with the last few things inside of Marvel. It haven't been great. Like Guardians 3, I thought was great. I love Guardians 3. I haven't had nothing great. And I think people are just, okay, it's just, and I think even though Captain Marvel made $1 billion, it's not a movie that you hear most people, even those who really liked it, you don't hear great associated with it. So, and I did see, and I think Comic Book Movie wrote this inside of their article, I think it was also a mistake not to put Captain Marvel in the title. Yes, it says the Marvels, but we all know what that is. But the casual viewer, it's the same thing like when you do Bumblebee. You don't put Transformers in there? You should put Captain Marvel, whatever the name of the movie is, and I don't know. The Marvels, it's like almost like it's almost like a new thing. So I don't know, but the tracking, and to reverse all of this too, tracking doesn't always mean definitive that's what it's going to be. It just doesn't. There's a very good chance it turns itself around. There's a very good chance. Well, I don't have a very good chance, but there's a chance that the SAG strike ends and they're able to promote. Not much time to do it. But there's a chance, and maybe that beefs it up a little bit more. Maybe they can hit that 100. There's not a lot coming out during their weekend. So the tracking could be off. And I think the comic book movie industry needs it I think the comic book movie industry in general needs a win right now for movies especially. So I'm very curious to hear what you guys are thinking. If you have questions about this particular topic or any of the topics we're about to cover today, once again, throw in those super chats. I'm going to get them towards the end of the show. I will make sure that I get to all of them. And I hope that we can really dive into this stuff and get into it. I'd love to hear, and again, opposing thoughts. I'm always welcoming opposing thoughts. If you have different points of view, please put them there too. Like even where I said the other day when I was talking about it, and I said that, you know, the positive side of things is always good. It's always good to have positive outlooks. And I had said that there is the kind of everything is awesome type crew that will sometimes, it's like a false advertising thing. And people were like, well, I push back that the positive people are worse than the hateful people. And that's not really what I meant. A positive outlook is always better than a hateful outlook. There's no arguing that. What I mean is that when you have a positive, if you're part of a positive crew and you want to be positive, look, I use Frank Janish as an example. Frank Janish is a really positive person when it comes to Star Wars, right? But he doesn't ostracize people if they have an opposing point of view. He doesn't then say, well, why don't you just take what they give you and don't be such a hater, and nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans, and that's the new memo I got, so I got to tweet that out. And it's like, don't do that. That's kind of what I mean, is that you're pushing, like, you're still part of a club that if someone else says something against your thing, then they're the bad guy and they're hateful in this, and you can't just have a conversation. You should be able to have a conversation about it, is what I'm saying. And it's like sometimes you can be in that crew where it's like, well, if you criticize, or if you didn't think about what you wanted, you didn't expect anything, you have all these expectations, and that's why you don't like it. And you better do. It's like, don't tell me what I need to do. Tell me what you did. Tell me what you like. And let's have those conversations. Well, I really like this thing. It's a bummer that you have this, but this and that. It's like, that doesn't happen on either side of it. That's kind of what I meant. Anyway. All right. You know, before I get moving here today, and I have a bunch of things too. And as I said, I have to thank all of you guys for all the support, from whether it's Patreon and commenting, liking, all those different things. And you've supported us since we've started. You've been there, and any way that you can. And I always tell people about our sponsors, and two of our wonderful sponsors that I've got right now. I've told you about breaking bad habits, man. And you break a bad habit with a good habit. That's Fume. And you got another way to really save yourself. You want to save yourself? You want to save some money? Rocket Money. I'll tell you about both of them right now. Guys, this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. You've heard me talk about Rocket Money. People have been signing up for Rocket Money because I'm talking about them so much. You get all these applications that you sign up for. You do it one time. You go, oh, it's a cool little app. I'll do it. I'll sign up for free, and then I'll cancel it. And you never cancel it. You forget you do. You do that with so many different things. You know you've done it. Streaming, all the different things you have, and you're getting charged for every month. Well, Rocket Money lets you know, hey, look at what you're paying for. Pay attention to it. Cancel it. Do what you need to do, organize it, and they organize everything for you. It has been such a benefit to me. It helps me. It keeps you up to date with your credit score. It keeps you up to date with money you're spending weekly. I love Rocket Money. It's a great finance app, and it really keeps you checked in. So please go and check it out. It is worth it. Sign up today, rocketmoney.com/thing. rocketmoney.com/thing. All right, guys. This episode is sponsored by Fume. Bad habits, man. A lot of people have bad habits, and bad habits can really kick your ass, and they can mess with your health. They really can set you back. I've seen it, been around it, and I know. And when you see this, the first thing you go, well, what is that? The first thing you should know is that's not a vape pen. It's not electronic. It's natural. That's why I'm on board in the first place. What is it then? It's a device, and it helps you quit nasty habits, and that's why I was on board right away when they reached out. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was skeptical. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know. That's not really my thing. It's like, wait a minute. You're not breathing in nasty chemicals with this. And what it is, it's it's just fresh air. It's natural air. It is flavored air. That's it. You heard me. Air. And it flavors. It is a great way to replace nasty habits. There is no nasty chemicals, none of the stuff that creates bad habits. And that to me was like, oh, wait a minute. So you can actually turn a bad habit and you just make it a good habit because it ain't messing you up and it ain't hurting you. Because I said, wait a minute, flavored air? And I said, it just feels fresh. They sent me one of them. And I said, okay, great, cool. It's pretty well weighted. It's perfectly balanced and it's very easy to fidget with. Stopping is something that everybody puts off because it is hard. But if you switch to Fume, it is easy and it's enjoyable and it's fun. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has had thousands of success stories, and there's no reason that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com and use that code BIGTHING. You can get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. That's tryfume.com. Use that code BIGTHING to save an additional 10% off your order today. Yeah, man. So excited to be working with both Fume and Rocket Money. You guys know, I mean, already if you've been watching the show long enough, those guys have been around for a bit. And if you're able to, I link the comments in the description. You've seen the codes and you want to support the show. You want to support yourself. Go ahead and try either Fume or Rocket Money or both today. Okay, let's keep going. I want to talk about this SAG strike, man. So essentially, I mean, I think that everybody just had this kind of predetermined outlook. Hey, listen, the directors, they came to an agreement a long time ago. The writers, it took a long time, but they did it. So now, yeah, and I certainly said this. They're gonna figure SAG out. They need to figure SAG out. They're gonna do whatever it takes, and it's gonna happen. They said nope, not the case, Jack. They sat down and basically, I guess I'm not going to get everything right here, but it was along the lines of the AMPQWXYZ. They said, hey, we gave them everything that we gave the writer's strike, and they said no. And then SAG came back, was like, hey, we're trying to do this, and it's very different to what they give the writers, and they just assumed that we would take this, and they didn't. Any of our demands they didn't do, and this and this and that, and it didn't work. And they basically said it didn't go well. It wasn't like, all right, well, let's come back and figure it out. It was like yelling and whatever it was, and didn't work out. And now we're nowhere. And then we're nowhere. So holy moly. Just talking about it with a few different people, because you look, Katie Sackhoff and I are waiting. We're waiting bated breath. We got a lot of, guys, the guests we have. I just booked 2 more guests that we've got. And the guests are incredible. Some of the best guests I've ever seen. And Katie's so good at it. You see her progressively just getting better and better and better and better every time she interviews somebody. And you've only seen one. You've only seen her interview one person. I've seen her interview a ton of people, but you've seen one. We haven't had a chance yet because, again, she's making sure that everybody who's coming on, you just can't talk about things. So there's one particular guest that when I tell you who it is, you're gonna go, whoa, can't believe you got so-and-so. And so-and-so made sure this isn't going to air until after the strike. We're like, yeah, of course. So we're waiting. And that's us and many other people waiting for things to happen. And by the way, I see a bunch of super chats coming in. Like I said, I'm going to get to all of them. See a lot of really generous ones, by the way, too. They're all generous, but the last one I just saw there is extremely generous, and thank you so much. But I'll get to them at the end. of the show. So this strike, man, it's just like, yeah, they're it's like they are it, I they are just on different pages. And I did think it would be over now. I think it'll be over in 2024 now. And then everything's gonna get pushed back. I don't think the Marvels is gonna be able to promote. I think Aquaman's definitely gonna be hit even harder than it was gonna be. And then yeah, Wonka. I mean, Warner Bros. Is gonna get hit bad. They're gonna get hit real bad because of Wonka and Aquaman. Why they have them coming out a week within each other, I have no idea. I just rewatched Wonka on the plane, by the way, when it's coming back. And that's something on the Patreon, if you didn't know, that I do what I am watching. There's certain things that I watch throughout the month, and then whether it's TV, movies, whatever. And I just kind of talk about it's like a fun little podcast that I do. And that's going to be one of the ones I talk about rewatching Wonka. And then, Grandpa Joe is a real, he's kind of, I always remember watching him when I was a kid going, oh, Grandpa Joe, what a great, he's kind of a douche. He's the one that tells Charlie to take the sips of the fizzy wazzle or whatever the hell it is. He tells Charlie at the end, Charlie goes, he's like, you know what, sir, you're being a jerk to my grandson. All right. You know what, Charlie, let's go sell Slugsworth that gobstopper. Let's go do exactly what Wonka doesn't want us to do. And Charlie's just like, shut up, Grandpa. And then my buddy Brett Ernst had a great bit about how the whole time this guy's bedridden for like, I think 20 years. And he gets a chance to go to the chocolate factory, and then every sudden he's dancing around the place, and it's like, go get a job. Ernst did that joke at the Comedy Store. It's always like so true. But anyway, and I can be able to promote that with Shyamalan. I hope Wonka will be a hit. I think it's going to be good. Paddington, man, director of Paddington's doing it. Timothy Chalamet. I'm a fan of that kid, and I think I think it's gonna be good. I will say, what's the I was just talking to Dan Merle, and I was talking to Mara Knopick, and what's the guy's name? The freaking the bear, the lead guy, the bear. He looks like Gene Wilder. He would have been interesting. And I did see that trailer for the Von Erichs, by the way. It looks really good. That movie with Zach Efron. Looks really good. It's another one too that I'm excited to see at the end of the month. So, but as far as the strike goes, guys, I don't know. I think it's going to be. I think it's 2024. What do you think out there? Again, if you're submitting questions, it doesn't have to be about anything that we're talking about today. It could be about the Marvels. It could be about the SAG strike. It could be about good pizza. It could be about whatever you want it to be. Whatever you want it to be. That's what you throw those questions. But if you have a particular comment about SAG and the strike and when you think it's going to end, please throw those in there, because I really want to see and get the thoughts down exactly about this. This is nuts. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it when I heard that they weren't doing it, that they weren't coming to terms. All right, I want to change to a little bit of a somber thing, which really sucks. I was a big Three's Company fan growing up, man. I was a big Three's Company fan. I was like I loved it. I loved it. And Suzanne Somers, who, if you didn't know Suzanne Somers, she was a major star, sitcoms, playing Chrissy Snow. And she was 76 years old. And in a statement from her, again, this is Dark Horizons, in a statement from her longtime publicist, R. Corey Hay, to People, it was revealed that she passed away peacefully at home on Sunday morning, surrounded by family who had originally gathered to celebrate her 77th birthday on Monday. Summers first came to attention with a cameo in George Lucas's American Graffiti and broke through in 1977 with the comedy series Three's Company, in which she played Chrissy Snow opposite Joyce DeWitt, Joyce DeWitt's Janet Wood, and John Ritter's Jack Tripper. The basic premise had the trio living at a Santa Monica apartment, with Ritter posing as a gay man in order to placate the girl's landlord, who doesn't want tenants of the opposite sex cohabitating. The show was an immediate success, jumping to number 3 in the national ratings in its first year. Yeah. So I was a major Jack Tripper fan and kind of one of the inspirations of comedy for me. And John Ritter was just amazing. And I remember all the drama that had happened with Suzanne Somers, one like leaving the show, and then Terry Garr comes in and all that. But then she was just such an iconic person that showed the way that she could play, because Christy Snow was like this kind of stereotypical kind of dopey blonde, is what she would say in the interviews. And she did it so well because she's a very smart lady, and she built her own business, and but she just played that character so well. And yeah, I don't know the details that they were gathering for her birthday, so it wasn't one of these things. They said it was her health was ailing, is what they said, but they weren't expecting her to, but that her death was sudden. So I don't know, they just kind of took a wrong turn or whatever might have happened. They didn't really explain much in the article, and I didn't dive that deep into it, but nonetheless, I mean, you think, when you're younger, like 77, like it's an age up there, but most people, when you think of, like, I've got family members, and my wife got family members in the 80s, and it's like, I think when you're younger, you think of 80 as just being super old, and you can't even move. And tell that to my father. My father-in-law is 80 years old, and he can pull trucks up hills, and he's in better shape than I am. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, 77, it's still like a fairly younger age, even though it's, you know what I mean? Like when you hear like, oh, well, Betty White, she made it to 99, and you're like, she could have made it to 100. But like Bob Barker, same thing, that's a big number. Anything like past, like, I think even 85, 86, but like 77, it's still, and my uncle just passed, and he was in their kind of earlier 70s. And yeah, it was sudden. So, but rest in peace to Suzanne Somers. It's a real bummer. It really is. As I mentioned, I was in New York over the weekend, and New York Comic Con was going on. I was not there for New York Comic Con. I was supposed to be, but again, one of the things that we were going to do is that we were going to do a show for Katie Sackhoff in New York for Comic Con. But for a lot of different reasons, we decided not to. The first part was that, the strike. And there was only so much, because when we did the show in San Diego, it was a lot of fun. We had a blast, but it was hard navigating around the thing. Her and I had a lot of fun, and just doing the same thing again without really showing it wasn't really the podcast. It was just her and I kind of goofing around. It wasn't blah, blah, blah with Katie Sackhoff. Is her talking to a guest and showing just what a great conversationalist Katie is. And we couldn't do that. And if we did have somebody else on there, it wasn't the show that we're going to be promoting. And that's the other thing. We have one show with one episode up with an interview. There's other ones with her and I, but it's really just Bryce Dallas Howard. That's the only one that we were able to put out there. So there's not too many people that, there's an audience that knows it, but it's not, I feel like once you put every week, another one, more people would know it. And then it'd be easier to, I think next year we'll definitely we'll be doing more cons for sure. Once we get the show really moving, and it should be Katie and a guest. It shouldn't be my stupid ass up there. But there's a lot going on in New York Comic Con. There was a lot. And one of those things was Matthew Vaughn. And Matthew Vaughn was talking about his original X-Men exit. And so he said that there was news of a Kick-Ass reboot. There was news of if he's going to start working on the Kingsman. But Matthew Vaughn also spoke about past projects as part of his New York Comic Con panel. Arguably the most interesting story to come out of it was his exit from X-Men: The Last Stand. Vaughn came close to directing that third film in the original trilogy, but he passed, and then Brett Ratner took over. Arguably one of the worst X-Men movies of all time. At the time, Vaughn indicated that he didn't have enough prep time to do the film, and now that 20th Century Studios is a very different entity from what it used to be, and that incarnation of the X-Men franchise is over, Vaughn opted to spill a little tea about his dealings on the film. Specifically, he indicates that the catalyst that led him to leaving the film was a comment of shocking disrespect from one unnamed studio executive in regard to making sure one of the film's biggest stars was on board. Allegedly, it seemed that the studio had a draft of the script made specifically to lure that star on board, and it was a draft that was never even intended to be used for filming. Vaughn says, I went into one of the executives' office and I saw an X-Men 3, and I immediately knew it was a lot fatter. I was like, what the hell is this draft? He went, don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, I'm the director. I'm worrying about this draft. He wouldn't tell me. So I grabbed it, literally. It was like a crazy moment. I opened the first page and it said, Africa, storm, kids dying of no water. She creates a thunderstorm and saves all these children. The executive then told him that the draft would be thrown in the bin once Barry signed on. Vaughn said he thought to himself, wow, you're going to do that to an Oscar-winning actress who plays Storm? I'm out of here. So I quit at that point. Ratner replaced Vaughn, and the film released to widespread mixed, a far cry from the two well-received first films, but was still a strong box office hit for 20th Century Fox. Vaughn returned to X-Men First Class, which was very good. That actually is, I actually think that First Class saved the franchise. I love First Class. First Class is one of my favorite X-Men movies of all time. And I loved what Vaughn did to it. I would have loved to see what he would have done with the X-Men 3, but it wasn't meant to be. Doesn't really surprise me, that story, though, that I could see them doing something like that. Like, oh, well, show that scene to her, get her on board, and we'll just cut that scene anyway. I can see them doing stuff like that. Such shady crap that's been going on in this business forever. I've talked about it at length about my horror story. And then listen to this, guys. I won't say who. This is hilarious. So I've talked about it at great depth. My thing that I've done with the He-Man script, and how Riley and I wrote a treatment for it, and then we were working on it for Silver, and then we basically found out the guy that I was talking to at this one company had essentially stolen the idea to get it made, and told us the company that he was working for weeks. We're working on this thing for weeks, and then out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, well, we're working on this, so we're not interested anymore." And then we get a phone, as we keep continuing working on it, we get a phone call that and again, so Justin Marks, who's an incredible screenwriter, really good, wrote like Top Gun Maverick. He's fantastic. I love Justin Marks. Not one bad word to say about him, and I always make sure that I say that. Telling this, he didn't know. He was basically called by this guy, and the guy says, "Hey, you should do He-Man and write something kind of together." And I know Silver's looking at it. We can go and we can. And so they did that, and they basically just kind of took a lot of the stuff that Riley and I did, and the other thing we were working on, kind of basically stole it. So much so that Naveed McElhargy, who's been on this show, had to like calm me down because I was pretty upset about it, and then also had to have this guy come in and apologize for it as well too. I just found out this particular guy is now acting, which is very interesting. I didn't even know that he's acting, and it is what it is. But look, maybe again, people change. You know what? People change, guys. So I haven't talked to this guy in 16 years. 16 years. And before that, by the way, I'd run into this guy at parties and everything too. He's always very nice. Everything too. It's just a very Hollywood scummy kind of move, right? Maybe this guy has gone through things and really, and that's one of his moments that he's like, that was a low moment for me. It was a low moment for me, and I wish that it never happened, and all the blah 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 blah. And maybe he's changed, but it doesn't change the fact that I see this person pop up. I'm like, come on. Anyway, yeah. So when it comes to X-Men, and it comes to Matthew Vaughn, I love how honest he is. You know, it does kind of go back into, I'm trying to find this other stuff that they talked about at his panel. You know, they said one of the most interesting things that came out of it was that X-Men thing. So I don't think so. I think the other thing is Vaughn talks about Kick-Ass, Kingsman, and more. Layer Cake, X-Men First Class director Matthew Vaughn turned up for a panel at New York Comic Con on Saturday. He talked about everything. During the discussion came the updates on several projects he's working on. The big chat here regards a Kick-Ass film on the way, one that will feature an entirely new group of characters, but set within the same world. Kick-Ass sort of changed people's perception of what a superhero film is and all that time, so we'll be doing it again. So it's none of the characters from the other Kick-Ass. We like to bring them back after the reboot. The reboot is just going off of a tangent that I can't really talk about, but it's fun. Vaughn also teased his upcoming spy thriller Argylle, starring Henry Cavill, Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Dua Lipa. He confirmed that the trailer released a few weeks back only features footage from the movie's first 28 minutes. And he says, even what you see in the film isn't quite as the trailer. We wanted to do something very meta. I just love the idea of what would happen if a wizard went to J.K. Rowling to book 3 and said, you know what? Wizards are real. Hogwarts is real. I'm real. I'm going to show you what it's really like. And I'm going on an adventure. We thought we'd do that with spies. So Ellie Conway, who's played by Bryce Dallas Howard, I think in real life will become a J.K. Rowling of spy movies or spy novels. Finally, he says he'll get to work on a new Kingsman film next year, and that one expected to actually be Taron Egerton's third and final outing in the Eggsy role. So again, I'm a major fan of Matthew Vaughn. I loved the first Kingsman, loved it. Did not like the second one. I know a lot of people like the second one. I did not like the second movie. I thought the first one had a perfect tone of kind of like, it's outrageous. I mean, there's some outrageous stuff going on in that movie. There's no doubt about it. But I don't know. It was kind of like a balance. I felt like there was a real story going on there with some kind of cartoony shit attached to it. The second one was so cartoony, and then with a little bit of the like an actual story that it was almost, I don't know. It's just, and I love Julianne Moore. I couldn't stand her character in that one. And then the third one was just a completely different tone. It wasn't, well, I guess the prequel wasn't really the third one, but the third movie, if they can balance it again, I just want to see Matthew, and I love that Matthew Vaughn is doing this Argylle movie. It's a detachment from the Kingsman world. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. I actually like the idea of rebooting Kick-Ass with these other characters and then bringing back the other characters later on to see where they're at. I don't think I loved Kick-Ass 2. I loved Kick-Ass 1. I don't think I loved Kick-Ass 2. I can't remember. I saw it so long ago. I wouldn't mind rewatching those movies though. But I want to see him do some other stuff too. I want to see him kind of move past, because he's one of those directors. That guy was just, when he X-Men First Class, Kick-Ass 1, Kingsman, the first Kingsman, all these different movies that he's done. He's a really good. I think he's underrated. I really do think he's underrated. I think Argylle is going to say a lot too. So let's see. I want to see him go past Kingsman, but who knows? Maybe the third Kingsman is incredible. What say you guys? Hit your comments. Let me know. I got to know. And before I move on, I'm going to get to these super chats here in just a moment. I do want to tell you guys, once again, if you guys know, you've been listening to this show long enough, then you've heard me many times over talk about AG1. I've talked about AG1 so many different times. I love them. I've been with them forever. And there's a reason why. You know that I've been about 2 years. I think that was the first time I started drinking them, and I started drinking it. I could feel a real difference in my daily health. I definitely felt more pep in my step. It definitely helps my sleep quality. I can tell you that much. It's because AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that supports your body's universal needs like gut optimization, stress management, immune support. And since 2010, AG1 has led the future of foundational nutrition. It is refining their formula to create a smarter, better way to elevate baseline health. I mean, I recommend it to everybody. You guys know, every time someone else is on this show, I tell everybody, I tell my family, I tell my friends, because it's so good. It has a team of doctors. It's got a team of scientists. It is tested for 950 contaminants and NSF certified for sport. It is formulated based on the latest science and maintains high quality standards. AG1 is the supplement that I trust. I love them. I've told you guys about them for so long. It supports my body daily needs, and that's why they've been a partner for so long with us. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/bigthing. drinkag1.com/bigthing. Also, for creators out there, a lot of different creators out there. I know that you guys are always asking me, and a lot of different creators, and I want to tell you guys about Kajabi. I want to tell you about them right now. I'm excited to tell you about them because if you didn't know, I think, look, I've been doing this creator thing for a long time. And what everybody strives to do is you want to be able to make enough to earn a living doing what you love. So Kajabi makes it easy actually to diversify your revenue. You can build your own brand. You can turn your audience into customers. Now, with the disruption of revenue streams from algorithm updates and product changes, if you're a creator and you don't use Kajabi to diversify your income beyond ad revenue and brand deals, you're leaving money on the table. And this is very true. Look, I told you, I'm planning on making a move. This is like this is my family, man. I'm everything. So this is something great. Earning a living directly from your audience is one of the most sustainable ways for creators to build a business. And you don't need a huge following to do it on Kajabi. You just don't. Creators and entrepreneurs value full ownership and control over their brand. With Kajabi, you have 100% autonomy with free customizable templates that you can make on your own, even if you're not tech savvy, and you keep what you earn. You don't have a huge audience, doesn't matter. You don't need it to make a sustainable income. There are thousands of creators on Kajabi making 6 and 7 figures with less than 50,000 followers. Try Kajabi and join the creators and entrepreneurs who have earned over $6 billion. Right now, Kajabi is offering a 30-day free trial to start your own business if you go to kajabi.com/bigthing. KAJABI.com/bigthing. Go to kajabi.com/bigthing and earn more doing what you love. Do it. So that's something like, as I told you guys, as creators, and people are always wondering, like they're like, okay, how do you, I get this not even just from creators. We had a barbecue here and I had a friend of mine going, so how do you earn money doing what you're doing? And it's like, it's advertisers, it's AdSense, it's brand deals, it's all this. It's like, it's Patreon, it's all this stuff. And I think that when you look at when they're like, hey, why don't you try, this is what Kajabi does. I was like, look, that's a no-brainer. That's something that for people who are just starting out channels, starting out these things, look into them, man. And hopefully that helps you out. So any one of our sponsors today, links in the description, go and check it out. All right, I think that's everything for as far as all that stuff goes with the stories, right? There's nothing else really too big that we need to cover. And if there is anything you want to throw anything else in there that you want to talk about that you really want to hear me discuss that I missed, but I think I got everything. I'm going to go through some of these super chats because there were a bunch of them. And the first one is from James Diesel. I'm hyped for the new Mark Bernard and Mace Windu comic. I saw that come in from somebody. I'm going to be honest, I didn't pay attention to a lot of the Comic-Con news that came out, but I did see that. And I'd love to get Mark Bernard. I've had Mark Bernard on this show. I love Mark Bernard. He's one of my favorite people in the world. I'm wondering if he's actually working with a friend of mine over there too, who does a lot of that stuff. But I think this is perfect. I'd love to get him on an episode of like the Sith Council show once he's ready to start talking about it, because that's great. Great news there, and couldn't have happened to a better guy. I love Mark Bernard. All right, next question. I see more coming in. Don't worry. I'm going to answer as many as I can, and I'll stick around for as long as they come in. So right now is the time to throw them in there. Bruce Crawford. Sorry, I know that this is a random question. I never saw your review of it, but I was wondering what you thought of No Time to Die. I thought it was okay. What the hell? Which one is that? Is that the one? Is that the most recent one? The most recent Bond movie? I don't necessarily know if I did review it. I think I talked about it on Big Thing. I thought it was okay. I thought the ending was interesting. But it was a solid ending to it. I watched it with my wife and we thought it was fine, but it was fairly forgettable. So I think that's why. Yeah, I don't think I did a full review on it. I don't know if that's true. I might have, but yeah, I thought it was fun. All right, next one. And thank you, by the way. Darth Vader's burnt asshole. My guy. How have you not talked about the Iron Claw trial? Well, I kind of mentioned it here today. So the answer was I hadn't watched it when it came out the other day, because you got to remember, last week I pre-taped all of my shows. I pre-taped because I was going out of town. I went out of town on Wednesday morning. I left on Wednesday morning to go to New York, so I had already pre-taped Sith Council with Frank. I had already pre-taped the thing with Jen and Brett, and I had to pre-tape on Tuesday night. I pre-taped with for Capes and Cows, and then I had to edit in New York. So I saw that the Claw trailer had come out, so I didn't have a chance to. And same thing, all the stuff that we didn't talk about the Daredevil thing too, all that. So I didn't have a chance to, but I did watch the trailer over the weekend. I was actually at my uncle's house and I watched it. It looks great. It looks fantastic. I can't wait. It's one of my most anticipated movies for sure. And I remember the Texas Tornado Man during the WWF days when he beat Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam. So yeah, so there you go. So I definitely do want to watch that movie. It wasn't that I just had missed it over the weekend. Here's another one. Ryan, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And everyone who's putting in the super chats, $20 super chat, very, very kind of you. Started watching you in high school. Since then, I've done an Army enlistment, moved cross country, got my master's, and now I'm at the age I can finally support creators who have provided me with years of joy. Thank you. That is very, very kind. Thank you. It's also one of the reasons why I've actually offered, on our website, we do the one-on-one sessions, and I've got a chance to meet a lot of you guys, and I do the so one-on-one sessions where I get to basically do this StreamYard with people for like a half an hour session, and I've got to meet so many different people that way. And it's also why through talking to PLD, we wanted to do more on the Patreon side, because we wanted to do more things where we could do exclusive podcasts, get people episodes earlier, do fun kind of silly things that we could provide more laughter and do things that way. And for people like you who just said, wanted to do things like that, I feel like you should be getting something, right? Whether it's stuff out of the Patreon, whether it's if you're getting the sponsor or whatever, you always feel like you should be getting something. Like, this is very kind too, and that's why to be able to have a full-on interaction by you doing that and the support. So thank you, very, very kind of you, very nice, and it's really humbling the fact you've been watching so long, and it makes me feel old. So thank you. Again, more super chats coming in here. I see them. I got it. I'm doing it. Simon Section would love to see Brett go as a Flirt and Flouse at the Corey Feldman concert. He might steal the show. Channeling Tim Curl, I still believe. I mean, listen, I'll tell you what. I'll see if I can get him to go as Flouse if we go. But right now, we got to get to. We've got to get. I think I don't know what it's like 3 something. We got to get to 400 first. I want to get to at least 400 by the end of October. We do that, and because it allows me to kind of give the audience more. I was looking at some of the stuff. I was talking to one of the main reasons I was talking to Frankie Alvarez at Basement Yard, and those guys have like 26,000 patrons. They're like 26,000 patrons. And Frank and I were just talking. He's like, look, you have a very connected audience, and your audience, it's community, and you got to give them some fun stuff that they want to like see you do, and goals and stuff too. And I was like, that's like right up my alley. I love doing that stuff. So that was really after a long conversation I had with Frank, who's crushing it. You should, if you don't follow Frank over and Joey over at the Basement Yard, you should, because those guys are great. But I'd love to have some Flirt and Flouse go for that. It would be great. Pete Parker, 2288, excited about your move, and it seems like you'll be happier in New York. I don't mind virtual as long as everyone has a good setup. Going back to Brooklyn. No, I'm actually from Queens, but I'm not going back to Queens. It would be probably somewhere in the island. But yeah, I think that is absolutely, this is what I would do. This is what I'll be, I mean, I'm always upfront with you guys, right? Like, one of the reasons that I also want to make a bigger push on Patreon is because I want to be able to do exactly that. I want to be able to say, okay, boy, I'm leaving, but I want it to almost, like, I looked at Frank Janish's setup. Frank's got a great setup. He's got good lighting. He's got a good microphone. He's got a great camera. That's what I'd love to do. That would love to be my parting gift, to the crew, is to be able to get them that setup to where you guys are like, oh, it sounds great. It looks great. Who cares? As long as I can't do the thing with, when Coy's talking into the thing or Kevin Smets' setup where he's basically screaming from an alley and the light. That will not happen. You have my word there, unless it's like a special guest that comes in. But the regulars are going to have. This is why I'm trying to build as much as I can through getting more sponsors, building up on the revenue for AdSense, building up on Patreon, because I'm putting it in. Believe me when I say I'm putting it into the show. I'm putting it into the stuff. So that's why that's one of the things I'm working on. So yes, that is what I will be doing for sure. Yeah, everyone's gonna have a good setup, I promise. Zuhair Galaxy, big fan. May the force be with you. That's very kind of you, Zuhair. Very nice of you. Thank you so much. Angela, that is so kind of you. $49.99 super chat. That is beyond kind. Thank you. Have you watched The Continental? I have not. Tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it. I wondered if I should go back and try it again. I do have tickets for the Marvels. Maybe I won't have a lot of people in the theater with me. I think that if you got tickets to that or opening weekend, I think it'll still be crowded. I wonder how long, I mean, how many showings, and it's very hard to sustain the kind of momentum that Marvel had for so long. So again, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that this movie is a good movie and that people really enjoy it, and it does really well, and it gets laughter. It makes people feel good. That's what you always want from movies, right? I mean, I guess not everybody, but that's what you should want. If you're a movie fan, you just want all movies to kind of do well. Um, but yeah, I don't know. As far as the Continental goes, I've heard mixed things. I heard people who love it, and I've heard people who just say it's so-so. I have not watched it. I have not. I can't give you the advice on whether or not you should go back to it or not, because I have no say in the matter at the moment. But I do want to check it out for sure. Yeah, I went up. What I always do is I look at these shows that, you know what, I got to check. I gotta start watching this, and the next thing I know, I'm watching Beetlejuice, and which my daughter is obsessed with now. I watched my best friend's wedding the other day. I watched what the hell? What was the other one? Lost Boys. That's on the plane. I watched Willy Wonka, and then I watched Dazed and Confused. So I don't know what that says about anything. But Angela, thank you so much for that. That was super, super kind, and really appreciated. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody here who's a lot of conversation going on right now, and I appreciate it. And yeah, so here we go. Haskell, the great Ed Haskell. Speaking of pizza, my friend at the Smith, they're opening a new Italian pizza cafe in New York City. He just got back from spending times with James Beard Award. That's awesome. And like, look, Ed, one of the things I'm doing, Ed actually has a follow-up here. Chris Bianco, that's from my buddy from Andrew Freed, who you guys know. So he actually, one of his first episodes on Chef's Table Pizza, it was Chris Bianco. Now, they were talking about the best doughs, the ingredients, the Italian marble counter should be in this week. When you go back, we're going. I'd love to look. This is my goal, Ed. My goal is to do this. Frank and I are going to tape an episode of a New York guy and a Chicago guy try Joe's Pizza and Mulberry. Those are the two we're going to try. We're going to put those up on the channel. We're going to see how they do. If they do okay, then we'll keep doing the LA ones, right? If they do great and people really want to watch them, and people really care, one of the tiers we'll probably add to Patreon is that when we hit a certain one, then we're going to go. I think Frank and I will spend a weekend in Chicago. Frank and I will spend a weekend in New York. Frank and I will spend a weekend in like Connecticut or Boston, or you know what I mean, or a bunch of different places, or recommendations and things of that nature, because it's something I really would like to do and something I wanted to do for a long time. But I got to also make sure that it makes sense for the business and for you guys, whether you care or not. So we'll try that out, and then we'll put your friends on the list if we hit that New York spot for sure. Wicked Art, another thing, by the way, on Patreon that we're offering. So Wicked Art did a full-on comic book for Capes and Cowls, and we're giving away a hard copy of it. You guys see what there's a few different ones on a raffle. We're going to give away signed copies of it, and we're actually going to do kind of voiceover work on it, where everybody, there's characters from this show that pop into this. The comic book for Capes and Cowls, if you have not read it, you're missing out. It is fantastic. This is a tremendously talented individual. Wicked Art. Hey, Christian, sorry, issue 3 is taking so long, but it's 36 pages. I have a few pages left. My favorite Marvel villain is Omega Red and would love to see him in live action. Who's your favorite villain and want to see in live action? In Marvel, I think I've seen him already, and I didn't even know about him, and it was Thanos. You know, it's like we were just talking about that on Capes and Cowls, is that Loki was like the top villain for a long time. Marvel had a villain problem for a while. There was no one who really held a candle to Loki until I thought Killmonger. I thought Killmonger was great. So, new reign, new villain. And then a month later, Thanos came in, and Thanos to me is the GOAT. I don't know Doctor Doom. I think Doctor Doom is the one that there's no chance, but I'm still holding out hope that Henry Cavill becomes Doctor Doom. But Doctor Doom, yeah, as a kid, he was always to me the most terrifying. So yeah, I think Doctor Doom is the one for sure. again, Wicked Art, thank you so much. And guys, if you're able to go and check that out and unlock that on the Patreon, because it is just legendary what he has done with that comic. There's the third one, as epic as it is. There's some crazy shit going on in that episode. I've already read a lot of it, and I can't wait. All right, we got some more here. Thank you guys for everybody who's been donating and keeping us on. I'll stay on as long as you want. So as long as they're on there, I'll keep going through it. I promise. Frankie C, your thoughts on the Taylor Swift Eras tour release? I think her people botched the release. I still think it made the same amount of money. Wait, I still think it makes the same amount of money. They should have done the traditional blockbuster release instead. Yeah, I don't, Frankie, I didn't really dive into it. I just remember they did all these pre-sales and everything too. And I do want to, I want to go take my daughter to see it because I think she's going to love it and be able to kind of dance around in the theater and do that. That'll be fun for her. So I don't know, because it didn't hit the monster numbers they thought it was going to hit, but it's still, she really need it. You know what I mean? This is like chump change to her at this point. It's like, she is a phenomenon. I mean, someone said the other day, we were talking about it, like, I don't understand the hate for Taylor Swift. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's popular. Anytime you have someone that's popular, enough people hear about them and then they hate them, whether it's a singer or if it's a movie, Avatar, Titanic, Endgame, anything. After a while, they hate it. It's because it's popular and everybody's talking about it, and they don't want it. It's like, oh, everyone loves Elizabeth. Oh, I don't love it. I hate it. Why? Because I do. I hate it. And it's human nature. It's what happens. So I think she's extremely talented. I think she's a phenomenon with what she's done. And this is chump change for her, so it doesn't really matter. Even they still made money. Made a lot of money. All right. Let's go to the next one. Thank you, guys. Alex Tornay. Hey, Christian, curious if you have an interest in watching For All Mankind. As a sci-fi fan, I think it's one of the best shows on TV right now. I can't recommend it enough. Longtime listener, big fan. Well, first of all, thank you, Alex, for listening for as long as you have been. So I'm confused. I thought it had its series finale like last year, because I know Andrew Guy was in one of the episodes, and I know like Robert Meyer Burnett like spoiled the finale or something. I thought it was a series finale. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. Maybe it was just the season. I've heard nothing but great things about this show, and it's the same thing. Like I've got to start making myself a list. That's what I need to do. I need to make a list, because every time I go, oh, what was that thing I wanted to watch? And then I forget what it was and I don't watch it. And that show is one of those. So the answer to your question, if I have an interest in watching it, yes. And also because I don't really know what it's about. The other thing I want to see is what is it? The one that what's Black Mirror is the other one that everyone tells me that I would love. Never seen a single episode, and I want to watch that as well. And I know that one you can just pick up anywhere because it's an anthology type thing. So yeah, I do want to see that one. I do want to check that one out. But thank you, Alex, for A, for the kind words, B, for the wonderful donation, and C, for the recommendation. So thank you. Holy moly, Mallard, thank you so much. Holy mackerel, you guys, thank you so much. That was very, very nice of you. With a $49.99 super chat, how much trouble will Marvel be if the Marvels lose money in tanks? I think significantly. Do I think that they're going to be in trouble where they're at a commission? No. But I think that they were in a place. What they did, I don't think they get enough credit for. I know people, what are you talking about? Everybody gives Marvel credit. They were putting out movies, whether it was Thor, Dark World, the first Captain Marvel, whatever it was, hit after hit after hit after hit after hit. And a lot of them scored high in the Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of them, like boom, 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 for years, up until after Endgame, years. And there's nowhere to go but down after that. And so they're in this place, and they also, the loss of leadership when what's his face, when Chapek, right? When Chapek came in, that didn't help, because he was just more of like a money guy and not thinking about the creative side of it, of what could work, and just more. They all love Marvel, more. And that was the worst thing that they could do. And I also think that sometimes they kind of I think that I think some of the decisions that have been made have not been great. So I think they do need this one to be a hit. But look, this kind of, I guess this kind of brings us into this Daredevil thing. The good news with Daredevil, because people will be like, oh man, Marvel's in trouble. They have to reboot that entire series. They fired all the rest. At least they did it. At least they did it. At least they looked and they said, this ain't working. It's not working. We're going to run into the same spot. All the stuff that we just are going through right now, at least this is what you hope, right? You hope that they go, what we're doing right now is not working. It's not working. People, like, not even just our haters, our fans are not liking this stuff. Like, it's not working. So this is Daredevil is following the same path of what we were doing. We got to change it. So they changed it. Good for them. Now, they can't keep doing that. Otherwise, you turn into Lucasfilm. But if you can do it because this is a big property, Daredevil, go back to the tone in Netflix. Go back to that tone. Because if you go back to that tone in Netflix, now, could you go to the rated R side of things? I don't know, but you can get close. To me, that is the direction that they should go, because it had a built-in audience and they would go, all right, that's where we're going with this. Get away from the goofy Daredevil stuff. It worked a lot better on what they were doing. So to answer your question, I think that, yes, they would be in trouble if it hurts, but they got a chance in 2024 with Deadpool to just kick it back into gear. They'd be in trouble, but Deadpool, because the difference is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 didn't really connect to anything in these phases. It doesn't really connect to anything. Loki does, but Loki's weird. Look, I'm really enjoying the series. The last thing you saw of mine was episode 2. But I'm really enjoying this, but it's weird because you always, I can tell a lot. I mean, it's doing really good in the ratings. People, maybe it's just me, but I asked other people, other creators, and their Loki stuff is just doing okay. Nobody gives a shit about my Loki stuff. I did a Loki reaction, and it was like, no one cared. The Ahsoka one, it did like 30,000-40,000. It did a Loki, I think, like 3. And maybe it's just a me Marvel thing. I have no idea. But I think that they need a win, though, Mallory. They need a win. And again, Mallory, thank you so much for that. That was really, 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 really kind. Thank you. That was very nice. All right, next one. Oh, I want to make sure that I got everybody. Oh, here we go. I do. I got it right now. Simon Section. Enjoying your UFO UAP show. Thank you. I know some of your subscribers mentioned the show, the Y Files. Yep. I was wondering if you've seen the one concerning time travel, most specifically the chronovisor and an item kept in the Vatican. I don't think I've seen that one. I saw the one about the time travel guy, the one where they thought the guy had, or maybe it was parallel universes more so. But I'll check into it. I've talked about the Y Files for a little bit. I was going on like a little bit of I was going down a whole wormhole with his stuff. But I should do it again. I'll look at both of those. No, I didn't check. I guess I haven't heard of either one of those particular ones, but thank you. Yes, I'm actually taping the UFO UAP show with Riley today. Got some new things to talk about. Thank you again, Simon. Very kind to you. Appreciate that. All right. Hey, Galaghost. What's up, man? Hello. Hope all is well. I know you really dug The Boys, and I was wondering if you had a chance to see the spinoff Gen V. Cheers and take care. I have not. Again, not because I didn't want to. That one I actually was going to watch because we were going to talk about it on Cape. So I'm probably going to watch some of it this week because I'd like to talk about it with Winston and Coy on Thursday, because I hear really good things about it, actually. I mean, that's one that I haven't heard mixed things. I've just heard good things. So I will check that one out for sure. And good to hear from you. Mirror Domains, favorite Michael Caine performance. He retired. Yeah, I know. That's what they say. That's what they say. Tired. Love the Michael Caine. I love Michael Caine. I don't know. I gotta look. There's so many different things that he's done. Favorite is Jaws 4 count, and I'm not even lying. It's the only reason that movie had any validity whatsoever, that Michael Caine was able to actually still be the fact. that you could pull that kind of weight in that movie. And I love Miss Alfred, obviously, too. There's a lot of different things he's done. I don't have to go through the whole filmography, but I mean, Michael Caine is one of the best of all time. But Jaws 4, that's my answer. All right, moving down the line. I want to make sure I'm not skipping over anything if I missed anything. I don't think I missed anything. Galaghost, here we go. Follow-up. Love the Big Thing episode with Steph and Brett. You mean Jen and Brett? Is Steph in here? Great discussion. Keep up the great content. Yeah, I'm assuming you meant Jen. Yeah, Jen came in on last week, and she was great. I'd love to have Jen back again too. She's really she can hang. She can hang. And as I got off the phone with Roxy today, and I miss Roxy terribly. I can't wait to have her back on the show. But I think we're just now waiting for the strike to be over before we can do that. I think we're still missing. Am I still missing? Is that it? Is that everything? Oh, I think I got everything. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. No, I think I got it all. Let's see. Is that one? Yeah. Okay. I think I got it. I did. Okay, great. Awesome. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us here today on the show. Thank you for everybody who was here watching live. Thank you to everybody who's commented. Thank you everybody who clicked the like button. Who clicked the like button. Anybody who was in the regular chat. Anybody who put in a super chat. Thank you so much. Anybody who joined up for Patreon on today's discussion. That's always great. If you joined up to Patreon while during this live stream, I thank you. I thank you so much, and I promise you that it's leading to us doing great things. If you put in a comment, I thank you. If you sign up to one of the sponsors, all that, thank you guys so much. If you subscribe to the channel, thank you so much. I am glad to be building this community with you. Maybe I'll do more of these live stream stuff on days. Maybe I'm thinking that maybe like there's days where I don't have people on the show and I do my single shows. Maybe I do live streams. I don't know. You guys tell me if you like them or not. We can continue to do them. But I wanted to thank you guys so much. Thank you to PLD for producing this show and doing everything that he's doing, and the rest of you. You guys are the best. Thank you. And I mean, double check, see and make sure I got everything. I did. All right. Thank you guys. You're the best. And we'll see you on the flip side. Peace.